they allegedly the 13-year-old, bro. Way before R. Kelly came out with these accusations that the Aryan Brotherhood was trying to kill him, I publicized that the Aryan Brotherhood had a hit on my head. You know what I'm saying? Way before R. Kelly speculation. So it could be coincidence or whatever. But I think that they targeting him because of me. You know what I mean? Like I won lawsuits against their organizations. I'm deeply troubled right now because, you know, Bruce Kelly and other family members of R. Kelly is like pointing a finger at me for what's happening to him, basically saying that if it wasn't for me speaking out, they wouldn't be trying to kill him in there. Reading his paperwork, a lot of the parents would tell their daughters, they 16 or 17-year-old daughters, to just tell them you 19 or tell them you 21.
That's crazy to me. I just struggle to believe that, man.
You have people who refer to themselves as dragons, who drink blood, and what they get out of that is that there are adrenochromes in the blood. I was probably the first, other than Jaguar, right, the first person that was like just uncensored, raw, uncut about Jay-Z. Like a lot of people scared to say certain things about Jay-Z. Jay-Z probably just mad because I exposed what R. Kelly told me about him. Everybody know it's true. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of podcasters got cease and desist letters from Jay-Z about me, saying basically me and Jaguar Wright working together to bring Jay-Z down, and we aligned on it.
But what you're willing to share, just in maybe 20-30 seconds, can you give the people a gist of what it is that you've been led to believe, what R. Kelly told you about Jay-Z? Because again, on my channel, we prioritize exposing evil in the world, which is part of what this interview is about.
So he did a publicity stunt basically to publicize that she had married R. Kelly. You know, I think they really feel like me and R. Kelly still in cahoots about it behind the scene. Probably they probably think that we still communicating. They probably think that I'm still helping him. Like his brother Bruce Kelly feel like the attacks coming from Jay-Z. I don't so much believe that. Like when I got shot after exposing Jay-Z, the media was saying Jay-Z had me shot. He told me basically, and it wasn't even to bash Jay-Z. R. Kelly was basically explaining like his situation is deeper than what the public been taught to believe in, and what he meant was simply that it's a lot of things go on in the industry with a lot of other celebrities who just get away with anything because they in compliance. Diddy's situation came out after I went viral about all these other people doing it, and now they see that, you know, Diddy was doing similar things and probably worse. Look, if people want to make this about me having sex with young females, like, why they ain't do nothing to Jay-Z then? Why they ain't do nothing to Diddy or this person? And then it's just R. Kelly was used as a puppet to establish that for our culture. But around the same time, Jay-Z was allegedly Foxy Brown, okay? It'll come for Jay-Z now, and they trying to use me to help bring him down. And they don't want him to get out, and they definitely don't want him to get his money because he's worth $1.2 billion. That's why they trying to kill him right now. And Jay-Z could have something to do with it. This is not no conspiracy theory, bro. This is fact. Before I get off into that, like, you made a point about Jesus. Now, I want to state for the record, I ain't no Christian. I don't go to church every Sunday, none of that. I ain't Catholic or none of that. But I'm also not Muslim. However, I study every single religion, whether you're talking about Islam, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, if you want to get into Hindu, the ancient book of the dead, you know, the Egyptian teachings, including Christianity. But I just want to confirm from my knowledge and experience, Jesus is king, bro. Like, for real.
Yep, y'all asked for it, so I delivered.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
Every single thing in this video is alleged. Welcome back to another episode of Diddy Got a Podcast, and of course, I'm your host, Diddy. Listen, y'all asked for it, man, and I'm delivering it to you. Everything in this video that is said by somebody other than myself, if it did not come out of my mouth, I do not necessarily represent or share the same beliefs. I want to say that for my protection, but I want to make sure that we say that for clarity purposes, right? We just recently talked about the situation that happened with R. Kelly, with him stating that people on the outside are trying to unalive him. And then shortly after that, we had the situation where he allegedly overdosed. and was rushed to the hospital. Well, I thought it was the perfect time to bring onto the platform for the first time ever, Mr. Ronnie Bo, who was, I've been calling him R. Kelly's cellmate, and I think a lot of other people have been calling him that as well. But he's to be clear, he's going to clear this up in the interview as well. He was never R. Kelly's cellmate, but he was R. Kelly's unit mate. He shared the same floor as R. Kelly, but he never shared the cell with him. He talked with R. Kelly many different times, but like a lot of you, is this guy legit? Is he clout chasing? Is he something else? And he clears up all the rumors. He provides proof. And even R. Kelly's brother himself has verified this guy, Ronnie Bo, multiple times on camera. And not only did he verify that Ronnie Bo is legitimate and everything he's saying is true, but he said that he likes Ronnie Bo and that he's a stand-up guy. Yes. I asked him all the tough questions. We talked about Freemasonry. We talked about occultism in the music industry. We talked about if Jay-Z is or may not be involved in what happened to R. Kelly and other things in the industry. We talked about Diddy. We talked about what R. Kelly told him about these different people. We talked about Ronnie Bo's relationship with Jaguar Wright. We talked about the corrupt prison system. We talked about the Aryan Brotherhood that allegedly attacked R. Kelly and why Ronnie Bo 100% know this to be true because it also happened to him and he shares that story. We talked about all of it. If you want the uncensored version of this video, as always, you can find it on my Patreon. So to all my Patreon members, please be on the lookout for that. Without further ado, I'm not going to take too much time. Please hit the like button. I need you all to hit the like button. If you don't do anything else, hit the like button right now, please, because this will promote the video to other people such as yourself. It means a lot to me. I appreciate your help and your support. Without further ado, let's see what Ronnie Bo talking about. Ronnie Bo, what's up, man?
What it do, bro?
Pleasure to actually meet you, well, virtually, but getting to speak to you on camera for the first time, man. You hit me up for the first time like maybe, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and we were just never able to just work out a perfect time to talk. But I think right now is the perfect time for us to meet, chop it up for the first time with the news just recently coming out about R. Kelly and him allegedly overdosing and saying that they put a hit out on his life. But before we get into that, man, I think since on Diddy Got a Podcast, this is your first time on this platform, I think it's only right that you introduce yourself because credibility is going to be everything. People are going to question if you're real, if what you're sharing is the truth, if you just clout chasing. So I think if you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, how you became incarcerated, for what it is that you can share, and we can just get into it from there.
Yeah, first I'd just like to acknowledge your audience. I saw in the comments a lot of people from your audience was basically demanding that I come on the show. So shout out to them. My name Ronnie Bo. A lot of people, it seemed like your audience familiar with me, but I was incarcerated with R. Kelly from June of 2019 to May of 2021. And within that time, you know, I was able to see him periodically and have conversations with him, but we was actually on a unit for about 30 days together where I was able to see him every day and communicate with him every day for 30 days. And by then I had already built a bond with him. So yeah, he was pretty vocal about how he felt like, you know, certain people, certain organizations was behind a plot to bring him down. And of course, everybody know that Jay-Z is one of them. I had spoke about this way prior to us doing this interview or way before, you know, referring to, you know, R. Kelly blaming his situation on not just certain individuals, but I spoke about this before he came out with the allegations of the Aryan Brotherhood. He felt like he was, according to his own words, he felt like he was being legally lynched, you know, by the white supremacist type of organization. So, you know, it's been ongoing even when I was in there. You know, I got a history of conflict with the Aryan Brotherhood, you know what I mean? And people think that's far-fetched, but organizations like the FBI and, you know, other organizations like that was actually established to keep the you know, the black man in particular underneath the circumstances that white supremacists established for us to live by, basically, for society to live by, that is.
So what, to those of because there's going to be many people to watch this to say what happened to R. Kelly was strictly race related, because it reminded me of I don't know if you're familiar with the Tory Lanez situation, but about a month and a half ago, Tory Lanez was actually attacked by a Hispanic gang member in jail, and he had been incarcerated for like a year and a half, and nothing's ever happened to him. But then some new evidence came forth that actually implicated that Meg Thee Stallion and her team actually set up Tory Lanez. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to say allegedly for my protection, but there's a lot of evidence that also point and implicates Rock Nation as well, which is the irony here, Jay-Z being involved with both situations. Then all of a sudden he gets attacked. So Tory Lanez's team came out and held a whole press conference, including his dad, but his attorneys came out and said everything, like exposed everything. They said, because if this man gets killed in jail, this is on you all, because we're telling you it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden he gets attacked after this new evidence comes out that implicates all these people. And now all of a sudden, this happened to R. Kelly after he said that he feels like he's being targeted. Now all of a sudden, this whole overdosing situation came out. And I thought about you and I said, Ronnie has been talking about this. And I almost wonder as well if you have thought about this. Maybe you have, if your interviews and the information that you've been sharing has played any role. I'm not saying that you're the reason that he got attacked, but do you think people have seen your interviews that of people of power in the industry? And do you think that played a role in what potentially could have happened to R. Kelly?
Yeah, I don't really want to blame myself. I feel like my interviews helped shed light on his situation more than anything. But, you know, his own brother, Bruce Kelly, to be exact, did an interview on Too Strong podcast maybe a year ago, right? And on the podcast, when asked about me, you know, he admitted that, you know, R. Kelly cool with me, you know, he cool with me, but he stated that R. Kelly had just met me in jail, so he made it clear that R. Kelly didn't know me before that, as if that was supposed to be a big deal, and he used that to say that R. Kelly was still even suspicious of me and why I'm trying to help him. But he also said that he felt like that my interviews, the content of my interviews, was putting R. Kelly life in danger.
I know that once he got to MCC in Chicago, he met a guy named Ronnie Bo, and I'm sure you know Ronnie. He connected us. And what does Robert tell you about his friendship with Ronnie?
Robert is the type of person, man, that he's very suspicious of things, you know. And I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say that, that because Robert just met him while being locked up, you know. But Ronnie he got great love for Robert, and I told him that I appreciate that. But there was some instances where he was talking somebody's platform. I was watching this one time, and he was talking about Robert and Jay-Z and stuff like that. And I said I hadn't talked to him yet, but I wanted to get in contact with him and asked him not to, um, not to bring that up so much, because first of all, Robert is still locked up. And I don't know what might somebody might try to do while Robert is still locked up. And I don't want nobody thinking that Robert got him doing this, that, and the other for him when that's not the case. Ronnie Bo, cool, he a cool brother. He a cool guy. Sometimes we do things though, and we know not what we do.
And my thing about this is that, my history rewind a lot farther back with issues with the Aryan Brotherhood. And I want you and your audience to actually research this and look it up. Now, in 2017, I was indicted for allegedly being a part of a drug trafficking organization based in Chicago. That's how I end up locked up in Chicago with R. Kelly anyway. Now, the DEA agent who was assigned to investigate me, his name is Timothy P. Gray, right? Now, this agent got arrested on my birthday. That was some guy, right? He got arrested on my birthday for, he basically conducted a racist rant against a rideshare driver and exposed himself as a racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, his own officers told on him, and it's documented what he said. I won't repeat the comments that he made towards the rideshare driver, but
what is he saying? He made a racist rant against who exactly?
His rideshare driver. Like, look this up. It's documented. Okay. I can see the document, but I will prefer, you or your audience to look it up yourself so y'all can see that it's actually documented on court record. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
From the government themselves. You know what I'm saying? So if I was to show you the documents, then I could have got this from anywhere. And it's like
Right.
at this point, people speculating whether I even know, even after our key brother came out and said, yeah, they cool, they was locked up together, but they still like he making up stuff for clout or publicity. You know what I mean? And it's never been about clout or publicity for me. It's always been about the fact that the media won't cover situations like mine, like a DEA, a government agent framed me in a case. It's documented, it's proven by the government themselves that he actually did this. But they won't put this on mainstream media. They won't put this in the news because they gotta hide the fact that they government operate like this. You know what I mean? So it's been revealed that this dude Timothy P. Gray was with the Aryan Brotherhood. And one of his other partners who was also investigating me was also, indicated as a racist. It's documented. It's not even allegation no more, speculation. It's documented. So people got to understand, like, I was a former GD member, right?
Oh,
And
you're
I'm
not
from
anymore.
Milwaukee. Huh? No. I had to denounce that. Just like Larry Hoover had to denounce it before Trump would pardon him. You know what I
Yep.
mean? But the point I'm trying to get at is that the GDs is a national black organization, right? They can call it a gang or whatever they want to call it. But within this organization, you have ties. Like when I got to Chicago, I was the only inmate there from Milwaukee. How was I safe? How did I have respect and power there? Because I knew certain members. It's about the ties, you know what I'm saying? So if I was to get sent to Louisiana, somewhere else I've never been, it's gonna be GD members there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be, when I get there, they gonna give me a care package. They gonna show me who all the other members is, and they gonna, let it be known that I'm one of them. So I'm protected under that umbrella. Now, the Aryan Nation, the Aryan Brotherhood, or whatever, they refer to them as. They all together, you know what I mean? And they are a much I just take them a lot serious than I take the GDs or the Vice Lord, the Crips or the Bloods, because they real in the sense that they stick together. Most of us don't stick together, and they ties run far deeper than ours. Like they have members who are police officers, they have members who are DEA agents, they have members who are FBA agents, they have members in the court system who are actual judges and lawyers or prosecutors, and that's not speculation. It's a documented history. Like the Ku Klux Klan Act of, I think it was 1874 or something like that. That was establishing the law because of it, exactly what I'm saying now. Like a lot of Ku Klux Klan members were officials in the government, and it was revealed even back then. So fast forwarding to today, people will say it's conspiracy theory, but it's really informed speculation from my perspective because I have my own experiences with that. So what I'm basically getting at is I already was on the radar of the Aryan Brotherhood. They already had a hit out on me to either incarcerate me forever or assassinate me. You know what I'm saying? And in MCC Chicago, while locked up with R. Kelly, they tried to kill me in there. I filed a lawsuit in 2020 about that while I was still in there with R. Kelly. And after that, they see me helping other inmates, trying to teach other inmates the law, in particular R. Kelly. They was mad that I was helping R. Kelly with his case. They was mad that I created a safe environment for R. Kelly to be on general population, with the lions, tigers, and bears. You know what I'm saying? He was supposed to be on general population, protective custody because of his case. When you got a rat case or a PDF file, I don't know what I can say on your channel, what I can't, but I think people know what I mean. But when you got the type of case that he had, you supposed to be on protective custody. But as I stated in many other interviews, I've been a book author 13 years before I met R. Kelly. And the Surviving R. Kelly documentaries was popping at the time, and the media was trying to portray him as a monster, through those documentaries at the time. So I felt like if I would be able, to get him on general population and convince him to allow me to write a book on his side of the story to basically combat the narrative of Surviving R. Kelly, that he could at least show the public another side. Because before then, it was just a one-sided thing. It's just they wasn't even considering R. Kelly's story. It was just what speculation of what people said, the girl said or whatever, and that's the only thing that people saw. And I felt like that was unfair. Like it's two sides to every story. sometimes three. You know, yours, mine, and the truth. You know what I mean?
I have so many. I have a question that may not seem super important, but this is something that never slipped past me. When I think of celebrities, like I think of like how Lil Wayne went to jail for his gun case when I was much younger. When celebrities go to jail, I was under the impression that it wasn't even up to them. They had to be in PC because if they're a liability almost. If something happens to them, then it falls on the prison system. It falls on the jail. So just to cover their butts, they go ahead and just separate them from all the other regular people, regardless of their case. Now, am I misunderstanding? Because I'm trying to understand how a person of R. Kelly's caliber, like if you're a prisoner, you're a prisoner. I get it. But if you're a celebrity, I feel like there's almost special treatment and that they can't be grouped with just any other cellmate. How were you able to be a cellmate with R. Kelly? Who's R. Kelly?
They can't legally give nobody special treatment. That's discrimination. And there's only two places for them, like, or any inmate. It's general population, and then it's protective custody. And protective custody is also the hole where they send people for disciplinary actions. Now, with regards to me being his cellmate, like, let's get the record straight once again. Like, I never said that I was his cellmate. Have I been in his cell before? Yes. In the feds, you could do that. You know, when it's rec time or whatever, when they let you out your cell, you could go in other people's cell and sit down and chop it up with them in their cell. And have I done that? God is my witness. I have been in Arky's cell having talks with him before. And the you know, how the media work, bro, it's like a lot of people, I would say that directly on the same podcast that they put R. Kelly cellmate. I will make it clear, look, I was never his cellmate, but you know, people post certain things for clickbait. And one time somebody posted I was his cellmate for clickbait, it went viral, and ever since then it's like when people interview me, they put R. Kelly cellmate because they feel like that's how the public will recognize me. They feel like people won't recognize me as just Ronnie Bo, or that the name Ronnie Bo won't get enough attention from the title that they put as the podcast, so they put R. Kelly cellmate. You know what I mean? But right. I never was his cellmate, and I'm making that clear once again on your channel. Have I had many discussions with R. Kelly? Have I walked in his cell to talk to him? Absolutely, and God is my witness. You know, as far as us being cellmates, that's just something the media put out there.
Okay, well, I appreciate you clarifying that. I definitely was thinking that you were a cellmate for like 30 days or something. Maybe I misunderstood. Okay, so
we was on the same unit for 30 days.
Okay,
but we was never in the same cell.
Okay, so let me ask you this: so you don't believe that, being that somebody attacked you, you don't believe that what just recently happened to R. Kelly was related to anything outside of just the Aryan Brotherhood being a racist organization? So in other words, you don't believe anybody hired that person, being that something really happened to you as well?
What I really think, and it could be based on my own suspicion, but way before R. Kelly came out with these accusations that the Aryan Brotherhood was trying to kill him, I publicized that I had a situation with the Aryan Brotherhood. I publicized that the Aryan Brotherhood had a hit on my head. You know what I'm saying? Way before R. Kelly speculation. So it could be coincidence or whatever. But I think that they targeting him because of me. You know what I mean? Like, I won lawsuits against their organizations. I still have pending lawsuits against them. I filed a lawsuit on the behalf of not just me, but R. Kelly as well, while we were in Chicago together. And, you know, I think they really feel like me and R. Kelly still in cahoots about it behind the scene. Probably they probably think that we still communicating. They probably think that I'm still helping him. Like, it's a lot of things that I've been exposing in these interviews that will really upset the Aryan Brotherhood. And, you know, it could be like his brother Bruce Kelly feel like the attacks coming from Jay-Z. I don't so much believe that. Like, when I got shot after exposing Jay-Z, the media was saying Jay-Z had me shot. And even during live podcasts, they try to basically insinuate that and to get to make me agree that I think Jay-Z had me shot. And I said on the Lionel B show, you know, he took it down, but I say the clip, and I'm gonna send you the clip just in case you want to, you know, resurface that. But before we even did the show with on Lionel B channel, he was telling me in text messages and calls before we got on, basically like, bro, if you would just point the finger at Jay-Z, it would be way more viral, and your books will sell more, and your music will sell more. And
but you also open yourself up to a lawsuit if you're openly lying on this guy.
Yeah, and not just that, but my conflict and feud with the Aryan Brotherhood is way deeper than my conflict and feud with Jay-Z. Jay-Z probably just mad because I exposed what R. Kelly told me about him. And everybody know it's true. You know what I'm saying? So, Jay-Z tried to basically blacklist me. He had his attorney allegedly. Everybody say you have to say allegedly on these podcasts, but a bunch of podcasters got cease and desist letters from Jay-Z about me, saying basically me and Jag were right working together to bring Jay-Z down, and we aligned on him, and that we shouldn't be able to publicize our thoughts about Jay-Z.
But see, a
So
lot of people, I'm sure, not to interrupt you, but this is very important at this moment in the interview, in the conversation. A lot of people won't know what you've said about Jay-Z, and if you're not comfortable with repeating it, that's fine. But what you're willing to share, just in maybe 20, 30 seconds, can you give the people a gist of what it is that you've been led to believe, what R. Kelly told you about Jay-Z? Because again, on my channel, we prioritize exposing evil in the world, which is part of what this interview is about.
Okay, well, my first interview that went viral, and for the record, the interview was basically to publicize what was going on with me at MCC Chicago, where R. Kelly was involved, because no mainstream media platform would pick it up. So I knew that I would have to spread, enlighten the public of what they was doing to us, not just me, but us in the prison system during the COVID pandemic. That's what my lawsuit was about. So I reached out to podcasters because I knew mainstream wouldn't put it out. So during this interview, they asked me about the fact that I was locked up with R. Kelly, and like, have he told me anything about any celebrity? So in particular, he told me basically, and it wasn't even to bash Jay-Z. R. Kelly was basically explaining like his situation is deeper than what the public been taught to believe, and what he meant was simply that it's a lot of things go on in the industry with a lot of other celebrities who just get away with anything because they in compliance. And the people who really like oversee the music industry, they are deeply connected in the prison industry. They run that too. They deeply connected in the law enforcement industry. Like, they have people who could be a director of the FBI. Like this, that's how high up they are in society, and they got a lot of money and power and influence behind them. So R. Kelly was basically saying like, look, if people want to make this about me having sex with young females, like, why they ain't do nothing to Jay-Z then? Why they ain't do nothing to Diddy or this person? And then he made the point that when Jay-Z came out, like, his first biggest hit was with Foxy Brown. She was 15. And even in the song, they was talking about having sex together basically in the song. So he used that to compare his situation to Aaliyah, because everybody basically confirmed that he was guilty based on the situation with Aaliyah. And even with Aaliyah, he explained to Barry Hankerson, who was the manager of Aaliyah and the manager of R. Kelly.
And her uncle, right? And Aaliyah's uncle, correct?
He wasn't her uncle by blood, but by marriage. Her auntie was married to Barry Hankerson.
Okay.
And they wanted to make her a star. So he did a publicity stunt basically to publicize that she had married R. Kelly. It worked as a publicity stunt. And around that time, Aaliyah came out with the album and the single "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number." So they was already promoting underage sex by the song and the album alone, and the publicity stunt. Like think about the narrative behind that. You got a 27-year-old man who publicly married a 15-year-old girl, and then her album is "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number." The biggest single on the album is "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number." So you got all these teenage females singing "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number" and thinking it's okay to have sex with grown men. And then you got the grown men thinking age ain't nothing but a number too. And all these, young teenagers showing interest in us. So this is the culture now. That's how cultures are created. To, when things be like that become acceptable, then it's just like it's the norm now. It's like a part of the culture now. And that's what they had established all the way back then. So it's just R. Kelly was used as a puppet to establish that for our culture. But around the same time, Jay-Z was allegedly f***ing Foxy Brown, okay? Even if he wasn't, it's the same circumstance. Y'all talking about having sex in the songs. Jay-Z was about 27 as well, or 28, and Foxy Brown was 15. So what's the difference? It was a thing of the culture back then. Like, they was trying to promote this and make us all accept it back then through music. You know, so that was his only point about Jay-Z, and that was my only point. And I believe R. Kelly. And you know, not long, well, it was probably a year and a half after I had pointed the finger at Jay-Z and basically said, well, look, if R. Kelly is a pedophile, then Jay-Z is. You know what I mean? And we all glorify Jay-Z. So it's a bias. Like y'all will be taking up for R. Kelly, but y'all still honoring Jay-Z, and he did maybe the same or worse. And another instance of that could prove that Jay-Z was, you know, having sex with underage girls is his baby mama. You know, he got a son out here named Rymir. I'm pretty sure you're probably familiar with Rymir.
The guy that
Well,
looks just
that's
like
his
him, that's
son.
been on all these news stations, and Jay-Z
Yeah.
won't. Yeah.
Yeah, he won't do the blood test, and for a good reason. You know, he don't, because if he do the blood test, it's not just about Rymir being his son. It's about the fact that when Rymir was born, his mother was only 16 when she had him. So she was probably 15 when she got pregnant. And she got pregnant by Jay-Z. So how old was Jay-Z when you got the 15-year-old pregnant? He was an adult. He was at least 23 at the time. So that's proof that, okay, Jay-Z was, that's more proof than it is on R. Kelly. You know, R. Kelly ain't got no underage girl pregnant. You know, so when I publicized that, months later, I did a podcast in New York, right? And ended up getting shot. So it was speculated like Jay-Z put a hit out on him. He got shot because of Jay-Z, and all the bloggers and podcasters, media representative, journalists, whatever you trying to say, was trying to get me in the media to say that Jay-Z had something to do with me getting shot. And I just wouldn't do it. Like, I could be way more viral right now if I'd have just told all them, yeah, I know Jay-Z has something to do with me getting shot. And I looked at that like as, okay, maybe they trying to come for Jay-Z now, and they trying to use me to help bring them down. And I think that is the case, because not long after it come out that Jay-Z and Diddy, you know, I don't know what terms I can use on your podcast, but
Whatever you
you can
want.
edit it out.
Whatever you.
Okay, well, they allegedly the 13-year-old, bro. And I think it's truth behind that. Even when Jay-Z had his lawyer send out the cease and desist about me and Jaguar Wright, and the note that they sent to my probation officer, they was basically saying that the 13-year-old victim, who is not 13 now, but the alleged victim who was 13-year-old at the time, came out and did this because of me. You know what I'm saying? And because of Jaguar Wright. They basically were saying if we wouldn't have been saying this, that this person wouldn't have came forward with these allegations.
What are your thoughts with that situation? Because if I'm just being honest here. When it first came out, listen, I religiously talk about this on my channel, but I have to be fair. That situation was weird to me, and it almost seemed like everything I'm saying this in this interview right now is alleged. But it almost appeared like it was a ploy from Jay-Z's team. Let me tell you why. You have a lady to come out and claim that Jay-Z supposedly did X, Y, and Z to her. But then she goes on MSNBC or one of those news platforms, doesn't show her face, but it's clear that it's a white woman. She doesn't sound like she's all the way there. She shows up without an attorney. She's saying these things that are verifiably false. Like, you can easily prove that she's not fully telling the truth. Some things you can maybe see how it's true. She's saying like her dad drove her there, and it was like I think like a 45-minute, maybe an hour drive. But then he came and picked her up afterwards, but she didn't tell him right away what happened. It just seemed very weird. And then Jay-Z from the jump was very, very, I want to say cocky, but I'm going to use the word confident. The way he was going after the attorney and saying like, no, release your proof, release her name if you're confident that what she's saying is true, just so it can be later proven that she dropped the charges and apologized or something later. That was weird to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was suspicious. You know, I think that Jay-Z and Diddy both definitely done things like that. I don't know if they guilty for that particular incident,
right?
But I think, I mean, admittedly, I probably did create an atmosphere for that, because, like, I was probably the first, other than Jaguar, right, the first person that was like just uncensored, raw, uncut about Jay-Z. Like, a lot of people scared to say certain things about Jay-Z. So when I came out publicizing things about Jay-Z and going viral for it, and had people looking like, well, was he doing the same things that R. Kelly was accused of? I think that created the atmosphere and the environment for somebody to come forth and say, well, I was at a party with Jay-Z when I was 13 or 14, and I believe 13 and 14-year-old girls was literally at these events with them, and they really probably had sexual contact with them, because it's typical. Like even in R. Kelly case, like some of the events, he was basically saying he didn't control the age range. You know what I'm saying? Like he wanted to do events because of his situation in the past where, it was alleged with a 14-year-old, whatever. But even Akon, bro, he had a situation where a 14-year-old came to his event and it was a 21 and up event. You know what I'm saying? So it's like how if we in a club and I'm expecting nobody to be able to get in here that's not 21 or up, then
You would
think
assume that everybody you interacting with is 21 and older.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's exactly what I'm getting at. And a lot of R. Kelly circumstances was based on that. Like a lot of these girls he met was like at events where you're supposed to be at least 18 and older or 21 and older. And the parents, not to blame them, but seeing the paperwork, seeing these text messages from these girls and reading his paperwork, a lot of the parents would tell their daughters, they 16 or 17-year-old daughters, to just tell them you at 19 or tell them you
That's
21.
crazy to me. I
Yeah.
just struggle to believe that, man. That's crazy to me. A parent, a
No,
mother, a father is going to tell their daughter.
that's documented, bro. You know what I'm saying? That it's by their own admission. Now, a lot of the parents wasn't admitting this, but a lot of the daughters was admitting, like, well, my mama or my auntie told me to say that I'm 19, and the same parents who was bashing R. Kelly, they was basically extorting them behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? They wait till they get their daughter to have sex with them, and then tell their daughter or whoever to follow up and ask for money and keep asking for money. And then if he wouldn't send it, to be like, well, I was only 17 when we had sex. And then it's like, now basically you blackmailing me because you saying if I don't keep sending money that you was 17. So what that mean? You finna go tell them that I raped you? You know what I mean? So
Right.
a lot of that was really going on in the R. Kelly case, and not to justify nothing that he may have did, but it's just like Diddy's situation came out after I went viral about all these other people doing it, and now they see that Diddy was doing similar things and probably worse. But I think I want to take the focus back to the current situation because I want R. Kelly to be safe. I'm tired of his family, brothers or whatever, blaming me for his circumstances when I was the one that probably kept him safe. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably the reason why he was still safe, because once you ask certain people to look out for dude, even after I leave, it's like, he cool. Ronnie Bo said he cool. But the thing is, as I explained way before this happened, bro, I explained on all these other shows that I was able to make sure R. Kelly was safe because I was not just cool with the shot callers for the GDs, but also the Vice Lords, the Latin Kings, other organizations. However, I was not really so cool with shot callers from the Aryan Brotherhood. So I could make sure that none of these black organizations don't harm me because they cool with me. They respect me. They know I'm a book author. They know I was just trying to get a book deal, and they know I really believe that R. Kelly is innocent. You know what I mean? And they know that this happens, as I explained to them. It happened to Mike Tyson. It happened to Tupac. It happened to Kobe Bryant. It happened to Michael Jackson. Once a black man becomes so influential, for some reason they just so happen to end up with a sex case. You know what I mean? So that's how I felt about it. But back to the Aryan Brotherhood, bro. The public got to understand, like, right now, President Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, one of the 54 countries on the continent of Africa, doing very good over there. I think he just opened up like 50,000 homes for his population. He networking with China and Russia for financial resources and stuff like that. He pulling back from a Western power structure, which is based on white supremacy. And I've even reached out to President Ibrahim to try to change the conditions over here for Black Americans. And with that being said, happy day to everybody who Black and are descendants of slaves. Happy Juneteenth Day. But the Western power structure and white supremacy, bro, like it's a very evil concept, and they really feel like they have to keep Black people under them. So when a man like R. Kelly reached 1 billion fans with songs like I Believe I Can Fly, even though he don't have no intentions to change the world, they looking at the influence. They looking at the potential, not the intentions. So they looking at the potential that you could reach 1 billion people. That's a lot. and they all admire you. They scream when you get on stage. They scream when they see you. These billionaire and trillionaire families who got all the power, these bloodlines, they don't have that influence. They don't have that charisma. They just got the money and the power. And the charisma and influence could sometimes topple the money and power. So when you become so influential, you might just have fame, and influence. These people got all the money, but they know that you could still be far more powerful than them with just your influence. So that's why they would target people like me for even speaking about those things, especially filing lawsuits. And then when they feel like they ruined R. Kelly, and now you got somebody like me changing the public perception of R. Kelly and making him look like, well, maybe he didn't do it. I was the one who established that thought in people's mind. You know what I'm saying? And start making people look at R. Kelly different. They don't like that. And now they seeing Trump is pardoning people. R. Kelly keep making claims about trying to get his money and who control his money, who took his money. And they don't want him to get out, and they definitely don't want him to get his money because he's worth $1.2 billion. And that's why they trying to kill him right now. And Jay-Z could have something to do with it, but I don't think he do. I think
here's the thing. Some people hopped in my comment section and brought up a really good point that I didn't think about. They spoke about the residuals, the Chris Brown residuals remix that R. Kelly dropped from jail, which went viral. And he was talking about, like, where's my money at? Like, I'm making all this money, but I'm not seeing my money. And a lot of people said that was probably the final straw, because he's still finding a way even from jail, because it went viral. People want to hear from R. Kelly, and he's talking about people stealing his money even now.
My point exactly. When I first came out speaking on R. Kelly, I made it clear that he believed that his circumstances was about the money. He's worth $1.2 billion and was barely a millionaire. So absolutely, that's exactly what it's about. And see, when they first tried to destroy R. Kelly in the early 2000s, he was able to combat the media with his music, with songs like I Wish and I Believe I Can Fly. That made people feel compassion for R. Kelly still. And that compassion made people still support him and say, like, no, R. Kelly a good. I mean, his music will make. I probably cried to R. Kelly song before. You know what I'm saying? So his music touched a lot of people, and I'm a gangster. You know what I mean? I don't cry, but especially about nothing like that. But his music had that type of power that it'd get you in your feelings. And so you can't really tear down a person like that. But once they saw that later in life, at the age of 50, he was losing his influence, then they came back for him. But he been a target, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't know. Like, I know because I've been around R. Kelly, and I, was close to some of his family. But Tupac warned R. Kelly way back then that, bro, they gonna come for you next. They already on me. They looking at you, and they gonna come for you next because you getting way too influential.
Tupac warned R. Kelly.
Yeah, they was supposed to, Jay-Z and R. Kelly did Best of Both Worlds together,
right.
album.
And then they had a falling out on tour, which is why it wasn't the second part or something.
Yeah, that was supposed to be Tupac and R. Kelly.
I've never heard that before. Do a lot of people know that?
I know. There's a lot of things people haven't heard, and that's why I've been trying to get R. Kelly to speak out about things himself. And he got reason to be timid and fearful about speaking out, and that's why I've been doing it, because I don't have no fear in me. I'm gonna speak my mind. I'm already at odds with these powerful government organizations, the FBI, the DEA. Like, they tried to do me wrong in my indictment, bro. They really framed me. You know what I'm saying? And it's been proven. And I won the lawsuit against them. And no media, no mainstream media source want to talk about that. That's why I have to talk about it through these podcasts. They don't want their government exposed like that. And this stuff really go on. It happened to me. And I done seen it happen to many of my other brothers. And it also happened to R. Kelly, believe it or not. But that case was fabricated against him, and he was framed. Was he messing with young females? I mean, yeah, they all do. Was they underage? I don't know that. I don't know. And if they was, they told them that they was at least 19 or 18 or something like that. So,
right.
Like I let everybody else bash R. Kelly. I want to focus on the government and the people who framed him. The puppets like Jay-Z. I want to talk about that part. You know what I mean? Everybody else, they done already talked about the other part. I want to talk about the other side of it.
let's talk about it. I think that's a great time to transition because I'm gonna give you a little bit of pushback here, and I'm curious to hear what you're gonna say, Ronnie. On my channel, I've religiously said that R. Kelly is my favorite artist of all time. It's not even close for me. He's the most gifted, and he's had the biggest impact on my life. But at the same time, I do believe that he's guilty of many of the things that he's been accused of. Now, the reason why I think he's guilty is it's not just because R. Kelly's a freak. The reason why I don't think Diddy is on trial simply because Diddy is a freak. I believe that there is something else going on behind the scenes. And a lot of times I put myself out there. I don't hide my face. As you see, a lot of people make channels and they hide their face when they talk about this stuff. I'm not one of those people because I stand on what I'm saying. And I think there's a lot of evidence to point to the fact that I believe a lot of these celebrities are occultists. I do. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I believe a lot of these celebrities are Freemasons. And I think you have to pledge an allegiance to certain things in order to make it to certain levels. So like I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback here, brother, with all due respect. When you tell me that R. Kelly had a lot of influence and he was reaching billions of people, absolutely. You get no pushback from me on that. But there's a lot of other people that reach a lot of people and had a lot of influence as well. Jay-Z is one of those people, yet we see nobody going after Jay-Z. And I think there's a reason for that. And I think it's similar. The connection I've made is Diddy stepped out of line when he decided to sue Diageo, and R. Kelly stepped out of line based on what I've heard from you, actually, when he wanted to go after what he was owed. He realized he didn't get a lot of the money that he was owed. And I think that was probably where he stepped out of line. So, hey, all the things that you've been doing, which is common practice in the industry, we're going to go ahead and set you straight and show you who's really running things here. Now, the people I would really like to be exposed are the people that Jay-Z, R. Kelly, Diddy, and those people answer to, not just the black men. But this isn't just about a black and white issue for me. This is about good versus evil. And I think if you're pledging an allegiance to evil things, to demonic entities, to demonic organizations in order to advance your music career at the expense of the people in your own soul, then I don't support you at all. I don't support what you're doing at all. What are your thoughts with that? Because I don't know if I've ever heard you speak about Freemasonry at all.
Yeah, I have, and I published those thoughts and theories in my books, many of my books. We talking about
Freemasonry, occultism, the ways in which these celebrities are able to make it to the top of the industry, all the symbolism that's in their videos, all the hand symbols that they show in their pictures and their photos. I think a lot of evidence that point to the fact that there is something else that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just talent. It's not just about connections, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I went very, very deep into that in my books, and I'm gonna go deeper than I usually go right now.
Plug your book though. What's the name of the book so people can know where to go and find it, and what's the name of the book?
Okay, and speaking to that, I put my number on the screen, and I do this in most of my interviews. But for the people who like, comment, and share this interview on your channel, they could request the book comments. I'll text it to them free or email it to them for free. But the one that I'm giving out for free is called Challenging the Illuminati. I go very deep into that type of stuff in that book. And I also have another book that I published in like 13 years ago, The Holy Trap Scriptures. So yeah, I've been exposing that stuff over a decade in my books. And with regards to challenging the Illuminati, like we don't let's fast forward to now. You know, I was just on Digital Social Hour, and they allow people to speak about more in-depth things. And since you asked, I didn't, usually people don't allow people like me to speak on those type of things. But like, I don't want to put no names though, bro, because I actually have ties to people who had experience in these organizations, and the higher ups, you have people who refer to themselves as dragons, who drink blood. And what they get out of that is that there are adrenochromes in the blood that give you like an unexplainable adrenaline. It's just like how people will snort cocaine for a certain high. They feel geeked up.
Right.
The blood that they drink get them that feeling of superpower. You know what I mean? So I don't know how deep you want to go, but it's people like that behind the scenes, and this is not no conspiracy theory, bro. This is fact. Like the people who reveal these things to me is people who have been around that type of stuff. Like, since I've been giving out my number, there are people literally, like, God is my witness, from all over the world who call me to give me information that they want me to say in my next interviews. We have family members of these other celebrities, ex-girlfriends of celebrities, brothers and sisters of these celebrities that say, would you publicize this about this person? Because they got the world thinking that this person is just a great person and they donating to charities and making it look good. But behind the scenes, this is what they did to our family, or they sacrificed this person in our family. They sacrificed our mama. Like, this stuff really go on. And I got a lot of witnesses to this stuff. You know, I don't go too far into exposing it because I saw that I had already got shot after exposing Jay-Z. And I already got enough enemies. I'm already at war with the Aryan Nation, the Aryan Brotherhood. And it's not been so much the type of war that, you know, I'm used to in the streets with shootouts every day. But as far as them trying to frame me in cases and me filing lawsuits against them and trying to get people fired and trying to get the media to expose certain government officials, yeah, that's considered warfare. So I've been at war and I have an alliance. Like, God is my witness, bro. I do not play with God. I do not lie on God. God is my witness. There are people, like, not just family members of other celebrities, but family members of black leaders like Fred Hampton and Huey. You know, one of the podcasts I did, Huey Newton's daughter actually got on there, and I recognized her by voice because we had that type of communication to where I was familiar with her. So I get a lot of information from a lot of reliable sources. You know, again, family of celebrities, families of the Black Panthers, families of the Nation of Islam, other organizations, even people who was with these little racist cults like Aryan Nation wives and sisters who just didn't want to be a part of that evil mentality no more. You know, they would contact me from the interviews and say, wow, I never heard somebody speak on that or expose. Would you also be willing to expose this? Because my husband was a part of this and he used to do this. You know, so that's where I'm coming from. And I would encourage people to continue, you know, to call the number and let me know about certain things. Certain things, the things I haven't spoke on yet, I will eventually, or I might put it in a book or something. I just got to be careful about the things that I publicize. And most of the times these interviews are focused on a certain narrative. People want to hear about a certain situation. So I just focus it on that. But with regards to the artists, bro, like, you really have artists who sign contracts and they really don't understand the contract, and then after they sign it,
But just real quick, artists sign contracts and they don't really understand. I hear this often. All of us, my audience, we hear this all the time. There has to be at least a handful of artists that had an attorney or a person that's smart enough to read a contract with them. So, for example, I had a guy, I covered a video with the guy, I forget his name, but he's a Christian artist who went onto this podcast. His name is Richard Lorenzo. Shout out to Richard Lorenzo. Love the platform. He also exposes the evils of the world. This Christian artist said he was about to sign a record deal with the Polo G's, a record label. He was about to sign, and his homeboy was like, hold on, bro, let me read through it real quick. He was like, all right, cool. So he started flipping through it. He's like, hey, bro, did you see this? And he was like, nah, what? He said, bro, they saying that you won't be able to say the name Jesus. It didn't say you can't say God. It didn't say you can't say the Most High or a higher being. You can't say the name Jesus Christ. He was like, really? He read it and he said it. He was like, I'm glad my homeboy looked into it because I didn't even see that. I was just going to sign a record deal. I saw millions, and that's all I cared about.
Hey, I'm
But I
glad you
imagine
said that.
some of these artists got to have people with them to read these contracts before they sign them, right?
I mean, it's like this, bro. They'll give you a 50-page contract. You may barely understand the content of the first page. So after the first page, you basically thinking about, well, this is about $1 million. Let me hurry up and skim through this because I don't understand it anyway. But before I get off into that, like, you made a point about Jesus. Now, I want to state for the record, I ain't no Christian. I don't go to church every Sunday. None of that. I ain't Catholic or none of that. But I'm also not Muslim. However, I study every single religion, whether you're talking about Islam, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, if you want to get into Hindu, the ancient book of the dead, you know, the Egyptian teachings, including Christianity. But I just want to confirm from my knowledge and experience, Jesus is king, bro. Like, for real. And I'm not no religious person. But what I mean by that is that these same demonic people who own these record labels, they understand the power of Jesus. So they try to get people to get away as far as away from Jesus than they could. They ain't really concerned about no other prophet or so-called Messiah or none of that. They worried about Jesus. And Jesus was everything that they said he was. Like I did my research, like I studied the Bible, I read other teachings of Jesus, and it's like when they was talking about the miracles he did, it's like, was that a metaphor? Was they speaking metaphorically, or did he literally walk on water? Did he literally raise the dead? And I found that Jesus was really doing everything that they said he did. And one thing about Jesus is that in John 14:12, he stated that if you believe in me, you could do all that I have done and even greater things. So for one, Jesus wanted to let us know that we all have that potential. However, we're not able to reach that potential because, like, for example, if I drink liquor right now, right, I'm
it's gonna
poisoning myself.
suppress.
Yeah, I'm bringing myself down to a lower frequency, and I'm messing up my divine connection. Literally, it's like right now we communicating. You in Arkansas, right?
Am I? Yep, correct.
And I'm in Wisconsin, right? You hear me?
Yep.
You broke up for a minute, but okay, we 1,000 miles at least away from each other.
Right.
But we communicating right now on this device because it's a connection. They have satellites that's connected to these devices that we are on. We can't see the connection because the human eyes is not made to see that. But it's a real connection. Like it's really connected. And it's like another example of like you remember when TVs had antennas. You know,
Yep.
you move the antenna a certain way and then you get a better reception, better connection. It's like that with us too, bro. If we got it don't have to even be the poisons like the liquor, but if we have certain emotions like hate, fear, doubt in us, then we can't really connect to the source. You know, to the source that Jesus was talking about. That's why we have to cleanse ourselves. We have to meditate. We have to forgive. It's not about just forgiving that person just because we're just loving and compassionate. You do it for yourself too, because if you hold those grudges, then you bring yourself down to a lower frequency and you can't really connect with God and reach your full potential. So, you know, Jesus was the most pure being that ever walked the face of this earth. They know that. They don't know, you know, how he was able to maintain his conscience through all the circumstances that they put him through. Like even on the cross, his last words was, Lord, forgive them. And they did Jesus worse than people saw in the movie Passion of Christ. They did him 10 times worse than that. And he still said, Lord, forgive these people. That's just like somebody come shoot me right now, smack me with the gun, and I'm fading to black, and I'll tell God, forgive them. They don't know no better. And that's exactly what Jesus said. He said, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And the point is just that Jesus is king, bro. Like,
Amen.
These demons really exist. They can really be summoned, and these executives behind the industry know how to summon certain demons and, you know, cast these demons upon you to control you, even cast demons unto you, into your soul, and make you a demon. They know how to do that, and it's real. And it took me a long time to get to the realization that these things really happen. But the defense mechanism is simply Jesus, you know, whose real name was Yeshua, but he really is king, and he really is the only way that we can defend ourselves against those evil forces.
Curious what you think. The Diddy trial is going on, just with you having ties to R. Kelly. I'm curious, with all of that stuff going on, do you have any just quick thoughts about that whole situation?
With Diddy?
Yeah, and the whole trial. It's been a whole lot of stuff.
See, Diddy, I don't like Diddy for personal reasons. Like, he shot a lady in the face named Natanya Rubin back, I think that was 99, during that incident with Sean. And that
And his
lady was
homeboy
like,
Wolf or somebody took the charge. One is homeboy, somebody.
I think Sean took I think they put the charge on him.
Okay.
But yeah, that lady is like a sister to me. Like, I got a lot of love and respect for her. She got a lot of love and respect for me. And she vented to me about that. You know, the first time we talked about that, we talked for over an hour about that. And she is deeply traumatized to this day about that. So I don't like Diddy for that reason. Now, with regards to the freak offs, I got friends who do freak offs. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a part of that party because I don't understand why another man would want to be naked around another man. You know, when I have sex, I just want me and that woman. At the most, me, that woman, and another woman. So I don't understand the freak offs. But you know, I know when I'm invited to a party like that, bro, I'm cool. You know, I got a girlfriend, or I got two girlfriends, but I'd rather
Right.
be with them than to go to that party.
Right.
So with regards to the freak offs, you know, even with him sodomizing these other artists, and that's true too. Diddy was gay, you know, and he has sex with a lot of these other artists, including the men. You know, not just the women, but the men. And you know, the
How do you know this?
LGBT
I gotta
community.
ask. How do you know what you just said? It's just what you believe. You have good reason to believe, like I do, or do you have other reason to believe that?
Well, you know, Diddy on trial right now, and again, I just named one of the persons who was
Yep.
close to him and knew him, who he shot in the face. But there's other people. Like, I just did an interview on Real Life Street Stars with Pimpin' Ken. Pimpin' Ken been to Diddy parties a decade ago, probably 2 decades ago. You know, and I've been knowing Pimpin' Ken for at least 2 decades. So it's been confirmed that these Diddy parties really go down, and sometimes it's some wild things that go on. But
Right.
it's like the LGBT community is popping right now, bro. So it's not, it's like for me, I respect my man. You know, I'm solid. You know what I mean? And I don't go that other way.
Right.
But for people who do, it's like, what's the big deal? Y'all, that's what y'all do.
Right.
Y'all gay, y'all happily gay. Like, what's the big deal? He been doing that. So the freak offs, I don't think that he should be locked up for that. If anything, Diddy should have been locked up for when he shot Natalia in the face. He should have did life in prison for that problem. You know what I mean? But if y'all gonna let him get away with that, then I don't want to see him go to jail for no freak offs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see no black man go to jail because they want to be gay and they want to have these weird sex parties. And, you know, some people do role playing, bro. Like, I've never been into that either, but I know some people who want to be chained up and taken advantage of. Like, they want that. They want
Right.
that experience. Me, no. But most of them people, you know, they was around a lot of wealth and power, a lot of famous people. They willingly did most of that stuff. So I don't think he should be locked up for that. I think he should have been locked up, though, for when he shot my beloved sister Natanya Rubin in the face.
Dang. I want to say this. I want to make sure I say, oh yeah. I got to make sure that I ask this, just because I know my audience is going to get onto me if I don't run this by you. You said something in one of your interviews when you said that Kelly essentially alluded to quote unquote selling his soul. And I've made a video on what selling your soul actually looks like, because a lot of people hear that and they think that it's some mythical, when there's many different ways to sell your soul. A lot of regular people sell their soul every day. But in your particular case, we were just talking about Freemasonry and occultism and things of that sort. Was R. Kelly willing to talk about those sort of deals that happen in the industry, which I already know the answer to it, but I want you to share for the audience? And based on your answer, why would R. Kelly feel comfortable enough to share with a person that he barely knew?
Well, at the time, you know, that we had these discussions, you know, it don't take long to develop a bond in jail. You know, people could say, like his brother said, well, Ronnie Bo, he just met you in jail. But okay, people who I was locked up with, who I built a stronger bond with than people who I grew up with. You know what I'm saying?
Dang.
And it's when you locked up, you seeing these people every day. You know what I'm saying? Y'all eating together. Y'all, it's nothing else to do but to talk and to bond and communicate, play board games or whatever, discuss your plans for the future, what you're gonna do when you get out. That type of stuff build bonds. So by the time that R. Kelly felt comfortable enough opening up to me about this stuff, you know, we had that type of bond. And with regards to him selling his soul, like you probably should even edit that into this, but it's a skit in his song I Wish, where he was talking to his mother from the sky, and he was trying to symbolically get his fans and the public a message about the fact that he sold his soul and that he wanted out.
Oh, son, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?
I want out. But it's hard. I need answers, Mama.
Robert,
I need answers.
son.
You know, you got to understand, Kelly, when he signed these deals, he was the poorest of the poor. He was the dude on the corner singing for change. You know, people would come by, put change in his bucket or whatever for him singing, you know. So he come from nothing, and to come from that to be in a position to not just make millions, but you got the whole world admiring you. All these females wanted to have sex with R. Kelly, bro. You know what I mean? So that's where he come from. So when it comes down to this contract, as I explained earlier, you got a person who could barely read, and you got all these big words up in here, and even the words that are supposed to be literal in these contracts, they mean something totally different in that realm. It's just like the law, bro. When you filing lawsuits, you would think that this word mean the same thing it mean in a dictionary. However, they have a whole nother law dictionary for what the words mean in the legal field. And it's the same way with the contracts. You know, the contracts is a thing of the law. And these words mean totally different things. So he didn't understand what he was signing himself up for. However, once he signed it and he was entitled to do certain things, you know, he had already sold his soul and didn't really know. So when they come to him and it's time to do rituals or whatever, and it's like, I don't do that. And it's like, yeah, you signed up for this. You gonna do it, you gotta do it, or the contract say we got the right to do this, that, and the other. And that's what you signed up for. So I'm not gonna go as far as saying he had to do nothing so humiliating to where he had to let them run up in his behind or nothing like that. But he sold his soul, and basically what selling your soul is, for example, if I believe in Jesus and I sign this contract and they say I can't talk about Jesus no more,
That's selling
I
your
sold
soul.
my soul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, the humiliation rituals is just done for people who they feel like they're not going to be able to control. And sometimes you don't even willingly do it. You would get drugged up and end up doing it, and they record you. And then once you come to your senses, they show you these recordings and say, we got this on you.
Like
So
R.
now,
Kelly with
if
the
you don't want to
with the like R. Kelly with the 14-year-old in the early 2000s.
that's a prime example.
Right.
You know, yes. And I think I made that as clear as I could make it without directly saying that those R. Kelly on the tape. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a prime example. So he let the world know that he had sold his soul in the song Wish, and that he was trying to get out, which he specified during the skit. I think you should show your audience that. And that alone may make them sympathize with R. Kelly and have some compassion for him and realize that he don't deserve to die in prison like this. If they trying to kill him, bro, like soon as after his attorneys went public about the Aryan Nation hit, that was real. Like the only reason why the Aryan Nation dude told them because he didn't do it on time. You know, and it's because he couldn't. Like, you got to find the right time to stab somebody up and kill somebody. But when this person may be protected, you know, you might not find an opportunity. So because he couldn't do it on their time, they felt like that he wasn't going to do it. And so they was going to kill him. And that's how the Aryan Nation worked. They kill their own too. Like, they the most vicious organization. Like, all these so-called street gangs, the Crips, Bloods, Vice Lords, GDs, like they ain't nothing compared to the Aryan Nation, bro. The Aryan Brotherhood, whatever people want to call them. That, like, them people don't play. They kill their own, and they definitely quick to kill a black man in prison.
So, but wait, that says a lot that you're willing to admit that as a former GD member. I got a bunch of family members that are GD members. Let me ask you this though, because this is very important. Aryan Nation, the Aryan Brotherhood tried to take you out. Aryan Brotherhood tried to take out R. Kelly, but the Aryan Brotherhood member told R. Kelly that he was hired. Who hired him? And why would they hire a racist member similar to the Tory Lanez situation to take out this man just moments after he said he was making, like, the Residuals remix came out? Who's doing the hiring for this stuff? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, see, I'm gonna just give an example. Like, let's say Jay-Z wanted R. Kelly killed, right?
Right.
Now, his direct ties probably can't make that happen because he might know people from these black organizations, the GDs, the Vice Lords, the Crips, the Bloods. He might have some ties to them some way, but they under the fall back. Like, we, R. Kelly cool. He's straight. We don't think he did it. So they not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Now, the Aryan Nation, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, Jay-Z cool with the founder, the owner of the NFL, and other people who are billionaires and that high up in society, and I'm pretty sure that if they not directly with the Aryan Nation or the Illuminati or some type of other organization, I'm pretty sure they got ties. Like the Aryan Nation is deeply connected. Like I said, some of them are police officers, some of them are correctional officers, some of them are judges, some of them are lawyers, some of them are prosecutors, some of them are FBI, DEA agents and directors. You know what I mean? So they connected. They could get stuff done easily. So I'm not saying that it came from Jay-Z. I'm not saying it not, but I'm not blaming the Aryan Nation for having a real reason to do it. But if somebody with enough money and power willing to pay somebody or willing to say we'll let you out or we'll make a way for you to escape. I mean, it's people who willing to do that. And you know, the Aryan Nation they can't force a GD to do it. They can't force a Vice Lord, a Crip, or Blood to do it. So
Right.
they gotta how they own do it.
You don't even think that like maybe the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood, whoever that may be in said prison, has a relationship, albeit maybe a business relationship, with the leader of the GD or the BD or the Vice Lords or the Crips or the Bloods. You don't, because that's typically how it works in war, right? Like, so you got Israel and Iran war right now, which they're trying to involve America. They got to communicate with each other. They hate each other, but they got to communicate at the very top at least. You don't think it works like that with these gangs? Where maybe the top of the top, maybe they can talk to each other about business and maybe doing a favor for one another, while all the workers or the people that answer to them at war with each other.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make this clear too, bro. Like I grew up GD, and to this day, I love Larry Hoover. I was just brought up to believe and think a certain way, and we was taught to honor Larry Hoover, and I do to this day. But what I realized, once I became my own man, my own boss, which I did at an early age. By 17, I was my own boss. You know what I mean? I started seeing through things, and I realized that Larry Hoover didn't have control over the GDs no more. And because he didn't have leadership no more, it's like he had to leave leadership to other people. And these other people don't have the same integrity that Larry Hoover had. So these same people would be willing to work for the government if the government came to them and said, well, look, we know you got control of 50,000 G members now. We're going to give you $5 million, man. We ain't trying to make you a rat or nothing. We just want to make sure that this thing don't get out of hand. And if you could work with us and make sure it don't get out of hand, then we're going to make sure you straight. Now, those things definitely go on. And even in the feds, I had a little fallout with the GDs because, like, they assign certain people to leadership positions that shouldn't be in leadership positions. So let's say I'm in the feds and everything is divided. Like this unit supposed to be ran by this GD member. You know what I mean? The whole building is ran by this GD, right? But I'm cool with Brian Christian, who is known as GF, and he helped Larry Hoover found the G's. Like, and that's not speculation. Like I had conversations with GF. So I didn't take the so-called leaders in the prison serious. So when it's like they would try to tell me that I should be doing things like this or moving like this, because like I was cool with the Vice Lords. And if I want to kick it with the Vice Lords and eat with them, I'm a man. I could do what I want to do. But this so-called GD leader was telling me, bro, you tripping. You hang with the Vice Lords more than us. Like that's not a good look. And it's like, look, bro, I'm going to hang with who I want to hang with. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all feel like I can't, then in the feds, you got what you call man time, where you could just be on your own time. Like, I'm going to fall back. I'm not with y'all no more then, because y'all not finna tell me who I could be cool with or I could not be cool with.
But wouldn't that be very, very dangerous? Wouldn't it be dangerous to make that decision in prison?
No, because like I said, I knew GF, and they knew I knew GF. So it's like, stop playing with me, because I could just get a message through the GF and be like, man, who is this goofy, this clown y'all got in power over here? Do you even know, dude? Do you even know about how he trying to run stuff over here? And that will reorganize everything. So they knew that. So they wouldn't play with me like that. Not that I was nobody. Again, I wasn't no shot caller in there. I just knew certain people and I minded my business. But it's like, don't play with me. You know what I mean? That's how R. Kelly ended up getting out of protected custody, because certain people had love and respect for me.
Wow. That's crazy. Okay. What do you anticipate is going to happen with this whole situation with R. Kelly? Because Many people believe at this point he won't make it out alive. With your experience, you being in the same jail, not just your relationship with him or the time that you communicated with him, but being that you was in the same facility, because I don't believe he's in Chicago anymore, correct? He's somewhere else now, right?
No, they moved him to FCI Butner, which is in North Carolina.
That's right. That's right.
But I just heard that they moved him. I just heard that they moved him again. So I don't even know if he's in Butner, North Carolina. I heard they moved him after the incident where he overdosed the Aryan Nation.
After the overdose and all?
No, I thought that it will. You know, I
think it all happened around the same time.
It could have been after the overdose. I thought it was after when he first announced that they was trying to kill him, but it could have been after the overdose. But again, that's just what I heard from somebody who write R. Kelly, and they could have got misinformation. So I'm not sure, but I do think I know we covered a lot of bases, and I think that's a subject that we should highlight and probably even close on, because that's what this is all about for me. And like, I'm deeply troubled right now because, you know, Bruce Kelly and other family members of R. Kelly is like pointing a finger at me for what's happening to him, basically saying that if it wasn't for me speaking out, they wouldn't be trying to kill him in there. And I'm deeply troubled by that because I feel like I haven't done nothing but help R. Kelly and shed light on his situation. And then, you know, Corey of Too Strong Podcast, and Corey, me and him, you know, I thought we was pretty cool, you know what I mean? But he did an interview or a clip, and he said more than I thought that he should have said. And what he said is pointing a finger at me and could even probably open up an investigation on me for what's happening to R. Kelly, because the little twisted people is trying to put on it. Like, I had announced on a podcast with Matthew Cox from Inside True Crime early this year that R. Kelly is safe because of me. And they saying that was my way of indirectly saying he's not going to be safe no more because I'm falling back from him. And that's because, you know, me and R. Kelly had an agreement. Like, the crazy thing about what his family is saying about me, the crazy thing is they don't understand, like, my agreement with R. Kelly was to do what I'm doing. Not that he told me to say nothing about Jay-Z, but I told him that I would shine light on his situation once I get out. You know what I mean? And he wanted me to do that. I never in particular said, I'm going to tell the world what you told me about Jay-Z. Maybe he didn't want me to talk about that. But I told him I'm going to shine light on his situation, and that's all I've been doing. And his part of the bargain was to, you know, use his name and his influence to shine light on what they did to me in there. Not just me, because it's not just about me, but during the COVID pandemic, bro, which is the most of the time that I was in there was during the pandemic. Like, we were forced to suffer the most inhumane conditions probably in world history, and nobody talking about that in the media. Like, they talk about the circumstances of the Jewish people under the reign of Hitler, but I could guarantee you, if people would look into how they treated us during the pandemic in prison, I can guarantee you it's almost equivalent to that. And that may sound far-fetched. However, nobody is looking into it. Nobody is speaking up. Nobody is publicizing it. And that's all I asked R. Kelly to do. And the whole time he been publicized his personal situation, you know, been bad, and that he suffered some inhumane, terrible conditions. But the thing is, I asked for you to speak on the behalf of us all, because it's not just you. It's not just you, R. Kelly. You ain't the only one going through that in there. We all went through that in there, and a lot of people still going through that in there. So speak on the behalf of us all. That's all I ask. I upheld my part of the bargain. I hope your family get this message to you. Like, bro, you should have upheld your part of the bargain. And because you didn't, that don't mean that I'm going to tell people to do something to you or to not protect you. I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, I don't have control over that no more. When I was in there, once I left in Chicago where we was at, I didn't have control over what happened to Kelly no more. I never followed up and said, is he still safe? And I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I would think, because of the respect that the brothers have for me in there, that they would make sure nothing happened to them. But I can't control that. So, like, if anything happened to them, like, please don't blame Ronnie Bo. All I did was what we discussed and what R. Kelly talked about, and that's between me and him. So Bruce Kelly, the rest of the family, like, if we can't have a reasonable conversation about this, then don't even reach out to me no more, because there's nothing else to talk about.
Dang. And on that note, man, that's Ronnie Bo. We appreciate your time for sure. Any last words you want to? Well, you got your number there. If anybody want to reach out to Ronnie Bo, his books, if you want to book an interview, if you want to talk to him, he has his number listed on the screen. Please feel free to reach out. Once again, Ronnie Bo, bro, I appreciate you, man. I hit you offline and we can chop it up. Until next time. Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.